Okay, welcome to a new episode of Nate's MMA Corner. I am Nate, and if you watch my show, you're in my corner. Today's episode is a post-fight show for UFC on Fox. Dos Anjos versus Cerrone 2. Rematch of the ages for the lightweight title in the UFC. So this is a post-fight show, so let's post-fight rundown of the main card, so let's get started. The main event was for the UFC Lightweight Championship of the World. Cowboy Donald Cerrone versus Rafael Dos Anjos, the UFC Lightweight Champ. This fight was 1 minute and 6 seconds long. Explosive, exciting, everything I could ask for in a match. I love quick matches. If every fight was this quick, oh man, be awesome. Wow. Yeah, Dos Anjos was basically, from the get-go, able to tee off on Cerrone. That leg kick, or the body kick that hit him, I believe it hit the liver of Cerrone. Just wore down on Cerrone quick, and then Rafael Dos Anjos was able to tee off from there. And Cerrone was trying to get out, and then in the middle of the octagon, he fell down, and Cerrone was just teed off on. It was a great, exciting finish. I think the referee called it perfect. I wanted Cerrone to win this. I was pretty devastated, but Dos Anjos, he did his thing and one legitimately can't argue. So it was first round TKO punches, 1 minute and 6 seconds for Rafael Dos Anjos' first lightweight title defense in the UFC. Then in the co-main event in the heavyweight division, we had one of the greatest heavyweight fights of all time. Junior Dos Santos versus Alistair Overeem. Now, let me just clarify, because some people will be like, wait a second, you're calling this one of the greatest heavyweight fights of all time? Well, I've said this before, I'll say it again. Alistair Overeem just standing there in the octagon automatically puts it on a pedestal that is like hard to match, because he's my favorite fighter. Junior Dos Santos, one of my favorite fighters. So they could just stand there and it'd be awesome. Yeah, there was a lot of standing waiting for moments to happen, but that's real fighting sometimes. And both of them have one punch or one kick knockouts. So they were both really, really careful. And I knew this fight was going to have a finish. If this went the distance and was like this, yeah, it would be boring. But the fact is, it was the tail end of the second round, and it was over. Done. Over. Yeah, Junior Dos Santos got hit with a kick, and then Alistair Overeem was throwing punches. Finished Junior Dos Santos, and Junior Dos Santos was barely able to get up. Yeah, this one I was completely off on. I thought it'd be the other way around. I thought, okay, Alistair Overeem has knockout power, yes, but if he gets hit, he can be knocked out easily. Junior Dos Santos, he could stand there and take a beating like the Kane 2 and 3 fights and just keep going and going and going. And it took forever for Junior Dos Santos to be out in that third Kane fight. Yeah, but Alistair Overeem did his thing. He got it done. And I say give Alistair Overeem the title shot he so richly deserves. I mean, he was put into the UFC against Brock Lesnar, expecting that, had he won that fight, he would get the title shot, and he did win that fight and got the title shot. It's just the whole scandal thing happened, and with the drug tests that got him taken out for a while, and then he came back and had the loss, which he should have won. And it's just been a roller coaster ride, and basically, long story short, Alistair Overeem's long overdue for a title shot. I say give him a title shot. He's on a big what, 3-fight win streak it is now, looking awesome. And yeah, he's just about my favorite fighter. I would say Junior Dos Santos is up there too, but I love Alistair Overeem. People always ask me, who's your favorite fighter? And I say, well, heavyweight's my favorite weight class, and Alistair Overeem's my favorite heavyweight in the heavyweight division. So there's your answer. Yeah, he was ranked in the bottom of the top 10, but he knocked off the number 2 ranked guy. So I say that makes a statement. And if he has a rematch with Verdum, I think the rematch would be real interesting. Now, I also love Verdum, and I think it's a winnable match for Verdum. However, it makes it interesting because Alistair Overeem's been fighting smarter lately and been pacing himself and not rushing in. And I think he knows that he's been knocked down in the past, so he'll play it safe and either work a ground game or be careful on the strikes, and I think it's been paying off. When he fought Roy Nelson, he knew that Roy Nelson had a strong overhand right and could knock him out in one punch. So he devised a game plan to counter that. Greg Jackson's been doing a good job. Yeah, so Alistair Overeem wins this second round. TKO punches, 4 minutes 43 seconds in the second round. Then, also on the main card, in the lightweight division, we had Nate Diaz versus Michael Johnson. Wow, this one, shocked. 29-28 unanimous decision across the board win for Nate Diaz. What I'm shocked is that Nate Diaz beat Michael Johnson the way he did. Okay, I meant to do a pre-fight show for this, but I didn't, long story short, I didn't have time. I got caught up with stuff. Sorry guys, but I had Michael Johnson winning this fight. Nate Diaz is a great fighter, but I just thought Michael Johnson is in his prime right now, and he got robbed in the Beneil Dariush fight. So, yeah, I had Michael Johnson easily winning this. But it turned into a stand-up war where Nate Diaz was winning in the second and third rounds easily, and Michael Johnson was just fighting to stay alive at that point. This was pretty much a boxing match with some kicks thrown. Michael Johnson threw some early kicks in the first round that were landing and doing damage, and then the second and third round were, for the most part, boxing matches, and Nate Diaz was landing his 1 or 2 punch combos in the stand-up war and route to a unanimous decision victory that no one's going to argue with. So yeah, Nate Diaz, he's definitely in the top 10 for sure now. Somewhere he has to be somewhere in the middle of the rankings as far as my rankings go. Yeah, he's back after a long layoff, and I think a lot of us forgot that this is the guy that knocked out Gray Maynard and looked impressive doing it. With that said, Nate Diaz is in title mix. Yeah, I am shocked. But, he won Season 5 of The Ultimate Fighter, and he is one of my favorite fighters. So I am happy for him, and I am glad to see him back. But definitely wasn't expecting this. Then, to kick off the main card, we had a women's strawweight bout with Karolina Kowalkiewicz and Randa Marcos. And yeah, Karolina, she did her thing. This was pretty much a stand-up war where Karolina was winning and she was stuffing takedowns. And she was avoiding any ground game of Randa Marcos, and she was doing a good job. And teeing off on her all 3 rounds. It was 30-27 on one of the judges and 29-28 on the other 2. Good job, Karolina. I remember this girl from Invicta. She looked great in Invicta. Randa Marcos, she'll come back from this win. She's a talented fighter. She has a lot in her repertoire of fighting. She has a good ground game still. Her stand-up's good, and she was one of the better looking contestants on season 20 of The Ultimate Fighter. So I expect her to come back bigger, better, stronger. Carolina, wow. Yeah, I say, some people are saying, give her some more top tens, obviously. Like Carla Esparza, I say, why not? That sounds like a fun matchup. I would enjoy watching that. Yeah, that wraps up the post-fight show for the main card of UFC on Fox, Dos Anjos versus Cerrone. Stay tuned for my next episode, which is going to be about, hopefully, if I have time, a pre-fight show for UFC 195, Carlos Condit versus Robbie Lawler for the UFC Welterweight Championship of the World. And until then, see ya.